Hey everybody, Sean here from Somm Wine Club, and I have got some wine for you. This is the 2021 Fratelli Seghesio Rapui Langhe Bianco from Monforte d'Alba in the Langhe region of Piedmont in northern Italy. Now, Seghesio is a Barolo producer. Monforte d'Alba is one of the villages of Barolo, but today we are talking about Bianco. So let's do a little backstory. Seghesio. So Fratelli Seghesio, the winery, was founded in 1987, but the property was actually purchased by Ricardo and Aldo Seghesio's father back in 1964 when the sharecropping system in Barolo and Piedmont ended. So prior to that, they were selling wine that they were making in bulk, and they only started producing bottled wine under the Seghesio label in 1990. So they produce some incredible Barolo. But like I said, I want to talk about their Langhe Bianco, which is a little bit of a unique Langhe Bianco. Part of the reason why it's in the box this month, because I think it's a really fun story to tell. So in the Langhe for white wine, you can use a lot of different grapes. The disciplinario actually says like basically any grapes that are suitable for cultivation in the Langhe. Not very descriptive. I'm sure there are like a list of legally allowed varieties, but more commonly you're going to find things like Arnais, Favorita, which is Vermentino, Chardonnay, sometimes Sauvignon Blanc or Sauvignon Gris. This is none of those. This is actually made from a variety called Seghesio Manzoni 6.0.13. That does not sound very romantic, I know. More commonly and kind of colloquially, the variety is known as Manzoni Bianco. Now, these varieties, there's actually a whole bunch of them, and that's why they have this numbered designation at the end, was actually the result of a vineyard and crossing trial back in the 1920s and 1930s. So Luigi Manzoni, who was the head of viticulture and enology at the school in Conegliano in Val di Arene in the Veneto, was experimenting with crossings, trying to find varieties that would create interesting characteristics. And this particular variety, which has become the most successful of all of the crossings, was a crossing of Riesling and Pinot Blanc. So, Riesling and Pinot Blanc are both very interesting international varieties, not super well known for producing wine in Italy, but they've created this very distinctly Italian variety in Manzoni Bianco. More commonly planted in Trentino and Alto Adige and Friuli and Venezia in kind of the northeastern part of Italy. You also see Manzoni Bianco planted in other parts of Italy, including in Piedmont, just in smaller quantities. So crossing Riesling and Pinot Blanc gives you some of the characteristics of each of these varieties. So Manzoni Bianco takes on a really unique character. It's a little bit richer than Riesling in the mouth, but it has this acidity and brightness that you associate with Riesling. I kind of think it's not dissimilar to maybe like a Alsatian Riesling in style, or maybe Chenin or Semillon, something that is high acid but textured and has a little bit more roundness. This is done all in stainless steel. They want that freshness, they want that brightness to capitalize on the acidity and freshness of the wine, and just a really interesting and unique wine coming from north-facing parcels of vineyard, kind of to, again, keep that freshness and that liveliness rather than facing south towards the sunshine. So a cooler part of Monforte d'Alba, and yeah, a really interesting wine that I think now I'm going to taste. So honestly, if you were to give this to me blind, I would probably smell it and think that it's Riesling, because it has a Riesling nose. It has this kind of zesty lime zest, green apple, tart pear, maybe a little bit of a tropical edge to the citrus. There's some white tea, there's a little honeyed note, there's some waxiness to it. It's a really interesting and complex nose to this wine. There's this little subtle green herbs or I love that honeyed note. It's like wildflower honey. Now, I took this out of my fridge about 25 minutes ago just to give it a chance to warm up. If you take it right out of the fridge, it's going to be really, really quiet, shut down, and not give you a lot of aromatics. But let it warm up in the glass, let it warm up on the counter, open it up, give it some air, give it an opportunity to breathe, and you'll see a lot more of the aromatic characteristics that make this wine so interesting. Okay, so on the palate is where you start to see, I think, more of the Pinot Blanc parentage come into play and how the wine expresses. It's rounder, it's a little bit softer. It smells like it's going to be extremely acidic and very, very tart, but it's not. It's a little bit more restrained. It has this lovely mineral backbone. It's just like sitting firmly on this kind of stony, rocky base where all of the other flavors and characteristics are just kind of like dancing on top. It's like crushed stone, river stones, wet rocks, wet chalk. There is a little hint of kind of textural bitterness, which is one of my favorite things about Italian white wines. It seems to run a line kind of through a lot of wines, white wines that are made in Italy. They always have this really unique, interesting kind of tannic bite, textural little touch of bitterness that lingers in your palate and gives the wine added complexity and definition, where another wine might just be like mineral, fruit, floral, fades. You don't get that lingering finish. The acidity persists all the way through the finish. So you're getting this lovely freshness that kind of continues and continues and is still there. So that definitely like leads me into food that is going to want a little bit more acidity and brightness to kind of cut through, but we can't forget about that texture and that richness. So I mean, classic northern Italian cooler weather dishes, give me risotto. Give me like a really rich mushroom risotto or seafood risotto. That is going to soak up some of the acidity in this wine, but there's so much roundness and creaminess and texture to risotto that's going to be beautiful when you kind of add this wine in there. If you want to do something that's a little bit on the lighter side but still has richness, you could do like moules frites. You could do steamed mussels with white wine and garlic and fennel and onion. You get that little bit of herbal kind of coming through with whatever fresh herbs you choose. I love fennel in my mussels. And then the creaminess of it when you reduce down that butter and that fat, just this is just going to highlight all of that kind of freshness and give that dish an opportunity to be a little bit brighter. You could slow cook some kind of Italian pork or something, polenta, vegetables, something that's a little bit lighter, but don't forget about the fat because you need that in order to help kind of balance the acidity in the wine. Mm. Yeah, anything that's going to kind of utilize fat, utilize a little bit of an herbal note, lots of flavor and richness and creaminess. There's so much opportunity here. This is a wine that's very drinkable. So it will be very easy for you to drink the whole bottle while you're cooking dinner instead of actually pairing it with dinner. But a really unique wine from a fantastic producer and a great way of kind of showcasing this very unique variety that's very uniquely Italian. So I hope that you enjoy the Seghesio Rapui. Uh, uh, and keep drinking interesting and weird Italian white wines, I guess, is the base here. Uh, Thank you all again, and we'll see you next time.